Welcome to Let's Be Well Together podcast. We're your wellness check-in team. Join us each week or when you can. We enjoy exploring wellness concepts and reminding you to make time for wellness.
This is episode 63.
We hope our territorial acknowledgement improves allyship with Indigenous people within a reconciliation process. We're on the Haldeman Tract, located on the traditional territories of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. We acknowledge the presence and traditional knowledge, laws, and philosophies of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land.
It's another week of Let's Be Well Together podcast. I'm Isabelle Sinclair, and I'm here with John Webster. What's on your mind, John?
Well, first of all, I'm just really happy that you're here doing this segment with me, Isabelle. And I wanted to introduce people to you because this is new.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be here. It's a very exciting time.
We interviewed Isabelle earlier, and she was on episode 54. And frankly, I just thought we had a good connection, Isabelle. I really, really enjoyed that interview, even more afterwards when I did the editing than during the interview, because I caught more things.
So did I. I feel like we really connected, and it was definitely very interesting doing a little bit of introspecting on myself and just divulging how I prioritize wellness. So I'm very excited to be here with you today.
And the other thing I liked was we were kind of covering some topics, but then we were just freewheeling it a bit in our discussion. And I thought that's where you said some really interesting things. So I thought it would be great to have you doing some of the What's on Your Minds with us at the start of the show. I asked you to do it, and here we are. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, like where you grew up, what kind of things you liked before university, that kind of stuff.
For sure. So my hometown is in Niagara, precisely Welland, Ontario. It's not really well known. It's a very small town. I played basketball a lot throughout my childhood. It was a really big aspect of my life, especially in physical wellness. I played really high level, and I traveled across Canada and the United States to try and get scouted. I'm really interested in running as well. And what brought me to Waterloo and finally to John in the podcast was the fact that I was on the Waterloo women's basketball team for a year with a scholarship. So that's what got me here. And now I'm a double major, legal studies and English literature. And I'm also the co-president of Women in Pre-Law with my friend Sierra. So I'm very excited to be here, and I look forward to learning about myself some more by introspecting and also just connecting with community members as well.
Now, since we don't do a video version of the show, people won't know that Sierra is sitting here with us.
Yes.
Hi, Sierra.
Hello.
And she's going to be doing some segments with us later today, too. Okay, let me take you back then. So that was a lot to cover.
Yeah, for sure.
First of all, I got to tell you, though, that we used to live in Oakville. My kids played travel hockey, and we used to have some pretty intense rivalries with Welland for hockey.
Oh, Welland.
It's a pretty intense place for hockey, that's for
sure.
That must have been tough when you're a kid and you're trying to get scouted and basketball means that much to you. How much pressure would that put on a person?
Yeah, it was actually a lot of pressure. I had some really hard coaches that taught me a lot about myself and a lot of determination and so forth. Trying to get scouted was a huge process. Well, in Ontario produced many girls that went on to playing post-secondary basketball.
Wow.
Yeah, so I felt kind of the pressure to live up to my coach's expectations. I would go shoot at 6 a.m. before high school at least 3 times a week. Once I'm set on something, I need to achieve it. Like, it's a goal that's so intrinsic. I feel like it's in my DNA. Both my parents are the same way. So I didn't want to let anyone down, and more importantly, myself, because it was such a goal of mine since I was probably 8 years old. But I learned a lot about myself throughout the process, and I wouldn't change a thing just because it was so integral into how I am as a woman now. So
I think that's a good way to look at it. For me, a lot of times I talk on the show about regret. Like, I do have a lot of regrets. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people that thinks everything I did was for a reason. But in that context, I take where you're coming from. And I think, too, the thing about sports, the nice thing is at least you're being physical. So that's a good thing. You go through a lot of school of hard knocks, and you learn a lot through the school of hard knocks. So that's a good thing. On the downside of it, though, like some of the pressures you're put under, I just get worried sometimes. My kids were involved in travel sports, too. And looking back, I feel like I put too much pressure on them at times and on myself and on the situations and that, concern about scouting. And sometimes I wish I could go back and do some of that a bit differently. So I'm glad you don't feel that way about yourself.
Yeah, there's definitely, I would say, the bigger picture of achieving that goal, but not pursuing it currently. I don't regret it, but there were definitely some times where I put way too much pressure on myself. And the fact that if scouts didn't talk to me after games, my belief back then was that it was a reflection of like my personality and not necessarily my athletic abilities. So I would definitely go back and tell my younger self, you're still a person outside of sports. Sports don't define you. But I would say sports are such a good way to build character and to just develop those skills that translate into like your future life and career goals.
I know you say you like running now. Was that something you did when you were younger as well?
Yeah, so it's actually a funny story because I only got into running to get into shape for basketball.
Okay.
As a young girl, I was very like tubby and just chubby, and like I was a post for basketball because I was one of the bigger girls, but I had enough and I wanted to be a guard. So my dad actually signed me up for a running group. It's where he trained to do his first marathon. So I started running there and I thought to myself, wow, like it's not, I used to just put it into my head that running is awful and it was so hard, but it was a moment in time where I could like reflect while doing exercise. And I'm someone who loves to move and to travel. So running in a sense was like traveling through different roads I had never been through. So my love for running kind of developed through trying to get into shape, which is, I know like that's something you could relate to as well.
I've always been that kind of chubby person as well. And even now
sure.
I run a lot, but I still struggle with weight, but
me
running
too.
is really good for that.
For sure. Yeah. And you know what? I think being chubby, it just makes you funnier. So it has its upsides.
Well, talking about funny, when we first met,
yeah.
you were talking about doing your first half marathon,
yeah.
right? And so my mind goes to, oh, we would be really cool. I should ask Isabelle if she wants to do a run, and because I run a lot and I could do a run with her. And then you talked about how you beat your dad, and I'm like, I could never keep up to her. Like she's probably like blazing ahead. Like I'd be chasing her stream. I couldn't keep up. So then anyway, I decided not to raise that as a possibility.
That's so funny. Yeah, I'm definitely someone that's very competitive, and yeah, it could become personal at times, especially with family members. But I don't know. I love that part of myself, and I think it's just funny. So
you did also tell me that you like to once a week you like to do a fast 3K.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a time where I was trying to get more back into some high intensity stuff. And the good news is I'm trying to do at least one high intensity workout a week, and I've been doing it, and it's been improving. So I appreciate you giving me that tip.
I love it. That just made my day. That's so exciting.
Okay, so now how did you end up? You told us how you ended up at Waterloo in terms of a scholarship. What kind of things do you do there, and what do you like?
Yeah, so currently I'm the co-founder and co-president of Women in Pre-Law, which is a club on campus promoting students with the goal of pursuing a career in the legal field and just kind of building a community of like-minded women on campus. I also like to write for the school paper, mostly regarding like political pieces such as like the war in Ukraine. I'm enjoying my program so much. English literature and legal studies, I feel like it's a very multidisciplinary program, and I get to learn about politics, literature, law in a Canadian and international context. So it's been very eye-opening and very enriching in terms of academics, and I'm very happy I came to Waterloo.
I love talking to university students because I loved university. So I'm one of these people who loves to learn.
Yeah.
And it's just such an interesting time in life, and you're like reading about this, you're writing about that. It's amazing. And you get busy with life. Now, luckily in my job, I have to do a lot of reading and research, so I kind of get a fix for that. But not to the extent that I used to. Like we're actually sitting right beside most of my philosophy books from when I went to university.
Yeah.
And I keep looking at them because they're right beside the TV. And I think, I should read some of those again, but I don't. But you're taking me back to the days when I did.
I love it. Yeah, reading is so interesting. And I'll admit, I'm not one that enjoys course readings, but reading outside of classes, I feel like it's also very enriching. And it kind of transports you into a world that you're not necessarily in currently. But I'm seeing your philosophy books, and it's bringing me to Greece for some reason. I don't know. In Athens, I just feel like I'm there. So, yeah.
Well, I think part of it too, it's just that whole spirit of being at university where you're thinking about all the possibilities in the future. You're thinking about all the amazing things that you can learn about. Yeah. And you've got a good attitude, I think, or most people do have this good attitude too. So when you're writing about politics, you have a view, you have this feeling and that people should do better. Right?
For sure.
That we deserve better. So it's a really good time in life. So I can't help but ask, because you're here, so when I reached out to you and say, because a lot of times I ask people to be part of the podcast in different ways, and the reception's different, right? And so I was kind of hoping you'd say yes, that you do some of these sessions, but I wasn't sure. So when you said yes, I can't help but wonder what made you be interested and say, yeah, you'd like to do some of these sessions.
Yeah, when you reached out to me, I thought it would be such a great opportunity, just because the past few times I've been on this podcast, I feel like it was a great time to do some introspecting on my own wellness, particularly when you asked me what aspect of wellness I wasn't really reaching my full potential in or not really prioritizing, it made me take a step back and realize, wow, okay, like I need to put more effort into this. So I feel by you asking me to help you out with the podcast, that it would enable me to think more about my wellness, as well as I feel like I'm very bubbly and extroverted. So I love connecting with community members and just learning more about the people that I live alongside. And I love learning new things, talking to new people. So I thought it would be a really enriching experience to be a part of.
Well, welcome aboard. Looks like we're kind of at the end of this segment, but I should tell you, when I actually started the podcast, I had this vision about sharing my view and sharing my thoughts on something that works and is a common sense approach to wellness. I still think it's a really good one, but I also have realized how much I'm learning and how much this process of talking to other people helps me. And so I'm glad you're finding that that's going to help you with some introspection and hopefully help you with your wellness journey.
For sure.
Guests are giving their time, expanding our minds.
Today's interview is in one of my favorite categories, physical wellness. And we welcome back regular guest Hillary Fitzgerald. She helps inspire us to make or keep making physical health a key ingredient of a balanced life. Welcome, Hillary.
Thanks for having me.
So Hillary is a lover of life, a promoter of positivity, and a motivator of movement. She started her fitness journey in high school, gained knowledge as she went, and eventually enrolled in CanFit Pro. She became a personal trainer and fitness coach. Hillary initially worked at a gym and then went on to start her own business and train out of her home gym. And she works out of her home and she loves it. So Hillary, one of the key messages we're trying to convey on the podcast is that whatever activities you do to work towards balance and wellness, please commit to eating nutritious food in moderation, exercise, and stay in touch with your physical nature. Today, we're chatting about connections between movement and mental health, which I think is a great topic. Where do you see some of the connections between the two?
I see all the benefits that exercise has, and I see it in myself and I see it with my clients. They might be stressed with their job. They come in, they do a workout, they're instantly less stressed than they were when they got there. And so we know that exercise is a stress reliever, in turn improving, your health. You're going to sleep better at night when you exercise. It's going to improve your mood. I see that all the time. People come in and they're moody, tired, and as soon as they get into 10 minutes of their workout, it changes. Or even if it's all the way through, they're struggling, and at the end, you see kind of an increase in their mood, and then they can go back to whatever they were doing. Increase in mood and in stress relief after somebody's moved their body in any way. That doesn't have to be an intense workout. I always want to stress that. It can be any movement, going for a walk. I think that's one of the best things, is just going for a walk in the sunshine, particularly. So this time of year especially is great for everyone to get out a little more. So yeah, I would say stress relief, mood enhancement, and sleep at the end of the day. I think if you haven't done enough movement, I think sleep is not going to be the same. You might have worked all day, you might have used your brain, but to me, you have to have that movement part as well.
Let's just break that down a little bit.
Yeah.
I can tell you too, and I've been talking about this on some of the podcast episodes. I had this experience over the last about year and a half. Every once in a while, for whatever reason, either I got sick or something happened. I wasn't working out regularly. Mm-hmm. I was maybe covering the basic bases, but I wasn't getting regular workout. And by coincidence, I started to feel down. My mood dropped. I started to doubt myself and other things. And even though I sing this song all the time, I forgot it, right? And it took somebody, in one case a listener, and in one case my wife Sheila, to remind me, John, you're not exercising. Yeah. Just try exercising. And sure enough, when I got back into it, I just felt that much better. So there's definitely some connection. And I don't think I'll ever understand the science of it, but I certainly understand the feeling of it.
Yeah, that's exactly. I'm glad you touched on that, because consistency is key, especially, you say with your mood and everything. If you were noticing that, I've had so many people, especially over the winter, say, I'm just not feeling myself, or, I don't have a regular routine in whatever they're doing. They weren't even maybe talking about fitness, but they're just feeling not themselves. And we look at it and we say, so what's been off? What have you not been regularly keeping up with that you normally would? And a lot of times, especially with me, we're talking about fitness. So, or moving their body. I had a friend say the same thing to me. We were out for coffee and I said, okay, so let's get back to the basics here. How can we get you on a regular schedule and have consistency? Because that's key. I think it's even worse than not moving at all, but moving once in a blue moon. And then you feel worse because of it for some reason, because you don't have that consistency that you used to have maybe.
The other problem too is there's like a compounding problem that you often find in life, the spiraling down. So you stop exercising, so you start to feel worse. You start to feel worse, so you don't want to exercise.
Right.
You exercise less, and now you're out of shape. Now you're embarrassed. Now you don't want to go back to the friends and whoever you are working out with because you're like, oh my God, I don't want to go to the gym. I'm too fat. I'm too out of shape. And spiral. It's hard to break out of that.
Yeah, that's hard. I see that a lot too. And it's so sad because you just want people to get on the other side of that and push past those barriers. And I really have to look at that sometimes and realize that's happening for so many people because I have consistency, I think because it's my job and I just love it so much. I have that. So I have to be like, oh, right. It's not everybody has that. Everybody has things going on as well that get in the way. And they feel like this right now. So how can I help them to get their routine back and get some consistency and then ultimately feeling great?
Well, one thing that works for me, and I always try to remember, is there's a positive side to it too, right? You have this, because I've gone through that spinning down many times. And unfortunately, many times I didn't break out of it, and it led to months or longer of getting worse and worse. But now I've learned that you can't look backwards. You can't change the past in the sense of saying, how did I let myself get into this position? I'm better at not thinking about that and remembering I can start small. I can just start doing something and I'll start to slowly feel better. And as I start doing smaller and bigger, then things turn around quickly. Combine that, for example, with some of the amazing benefits of getting back with people, social, being a little bit more social at the gym or with workout groups. There's a lot of upside. So if you can manage to get past that, I'm stuck and I can't break out of it, the good news is there's lots of positivity that can be on the other side of that.
I agree. I think moving forward and not really dwelling on, oh, but I wasn't doing this or I didn't do that. Well, guess what? Everybody's life gets in the way sometimes, and that's okay. We're not perfect. So if you can kind of move forward and think, what do I want to do now? And you said the social aspect, that's big. I find having a buddy, a team of people, whatever you can align yourself with is great. For me, that's working out with 4 to 5 people in the mornings. That varies. Sometimes not everybody can be there, but usually it's 4 to 5 of us. And having that team, every time we work out, I say, way to go team, or look at us, we're such a team. I said it yesterday like 3 times because I get so excited. Or I'll say, we really worked well together today. And I know everybody feels it, even though they're having a tough time during the workout. I know they feel it. And I was just saying to my husband, isn't it great that we have this team we've created, that we all count on each other, especially because of the time we work out. We work out in the mornings at 6:15. That's an easy time for people to back out and say, I had a bad sleep. My kids were up in the night. I'm not feeling great, which again, that can all happen still. And it's okay to have a day like that, obviously. But for the most part, we're all there because we said we'd be there, because we know somebody else has been there for us. They've showed up because, I was going to show up, so they're there. It really has helped with the success. So I think that's key, having that social. And it might not be a workout like I do. It might be meeting a friend for a walk or meeting up for, a workout in the park. It doesn't matter.
Or just even showing up at the gym at the same time.
Oh,
doing
that's
your
right.
own
Yeah.
thing.
Yes, right. Doing your own thing. It doesn't even matter. I think just having somebody maybe you can commit to, and having somebody there who can maybe pick you up if you're having a day where you're feeling tired. That's another thing.
Yeah, for sure. Like Sheila's kind of a gym rat. She always has been.
Okay.
And
That's great.
There are quite a few times where she says, I'm going to the gym. And I'm like, okay, I'll go to the gym.
Okay, yes.
But the other thing I wanted to point out too is that I used to have the wrong approach in terms of thinking of, is it an all or nothing approach? And what I mean by that is I'm either doing aerobics and strength training and cardio and watching what I eat and
Right.
like all these things, which ideally you do. Like ideally when everything's running perfectly smoothly, you've got all your elements of good sleep and health and all that stuff going. But lots of times you don't have all the elements going. And the most recent time where I turned things around for the better, I just couldn't get things going. And I thought to myself, by coincidence, you had talked about the morning workout. Some other guests talked about the morning workout. Sheila was working early morning. I thought, you know what? I'm just going to start with something. And that's, I'm just going to go to the gym and I'm going to run 5K in the morning, which to some people might sound like a lot, and maybe it is, but for me, that's not very much. I'm going to go run for half an hour or so. I started small and that's what I was doing. And what a huge difference it made. Like it just really did start to turn things around. And I started doing what somebody on the show mentioned as habit stacking.
Oh,
So, which is, you start one good habit and then maybe you build another. So maybe then you start drinking more water and then so you keep doing the first and then the second and want to start adding some strength training. I started some core, kind of fell off. I'll come back. It teaches me that it's not all or nothing. You don't have to be in perfect shape to move that body. And any amount of moving that body helps put me in a better frame of mind.
I think that's a great way to put it, because I think it can be a really overwhelming thing to look at the big picture of, I want to do all the things and I want to work out, I want to eat healthy, I have all these things I need to do. Well, that's very overwhelming. You did it really well, I think, by saying, I'm just going to go to the gym. I'm just going to run a 5K. And then, maybe build upon that. I've also been working with people on that who may feel like they have a long journey ahead. And so I said, let's start small. We're coming to the gym once a week, and say this one client's also going for a walk once a week. Great. So we've been doing that now consistently for a few weeks. Same thing as what do you call that? It's
Habit stacking.
Habit stacking. Okay, I like that. Now we're going to add, let's drink more water. You're drinking water, but we could drink a bit more. So now we've started that because it's not too overwhelming. Next will be something else. So I think that's a great way to look at it. I do the same thing. I'm not doing all the things all the time. I have my workouts that I'm quite consistent with, but I thought to myself, I don't drink as much water as I probably should. Maybe I should start adding that in. I don't think anybody's doing all the things because everybody has a life, so if we take a break and not be so hard on ourselves and try to start small, I think that's the way to do it.
Part of my personality, which is dangerous, is if I can't do it all, I'm not going to do anything.
Right.
And so I've done a really good job trying to get past that. You talked earlier too, before we started, about resilience. I just want to come a little bit back to that because we're going to talk about goal setting in our next chat, so we can talk about that. But in terms of resilience, I often tell people that one thing that long distance running has taught me is that I can accomplish more than I thought was possible. There are many, many times where I'm out on a run and I'm struggling and I'm far from home and I just don't know. But I find a way, because whether I'm stubborn or what it is, I'm like, I find a way and just keep moving that body. And then I get home and I've gone through a challenge and I just feel like that's resilient. And you were saying that kind of process helps you outside of athletics as well.
Yeah, exactly. Stress resilience, running like that. I could see how in your mind you might go through all of the things, I can't keep going. Yes, I can. I'm just going to take a break. No, you're not taking a break. The mental game, right? Yeah. I run. Sometimes I don't run long distance like that, but I can imagine, because even when I'm on a 5K, I say to myself, am I going to be able to get through all this? And then you get a bit further and you get a bit further. All of a sudden you're home and you've done it. And you feel amazing. You've just challenged yourself and you've completed that challenge and pushed through it. So same thing with workouts. Sometimes it can look very daunting. Same thing, like, I don't know if I can get through this. Am I going to, and then you do. And I think once you're done, you're able to push through whatever your day looks like or whatever you might have going on in your life even. You can push through a little easier because you've done that.
I had this picture in my mind earlier. You were talking about your group and how they were going through a pretty grueling exercise, but you could feel the vibe was there. It was a hard workout, but it was a good workout. Yeah. And then I could just kind of sense that feeling of satisfaction at the end when everyone accomplishes it. And you feel like you can do anything at that point.
That's what it is. I say all the time, we can do hard things. I don't know who told me that. I saw it somewhere and I thought, I even shouted out sometimes. I'm like, we can do it. That. We can do hard things. And everybody's
That's a good one for me to remember when I'm running.
Yeah.
I can do hard things.
You can do hard things.
It's a nice mantra.
And another one that I just put up in my gym, we just did these new letters in the gym, and it says stronger than yesterday. And I always look up because it's right above one of the mirrors that I look in when I work out. And I look at it all the time. And I think, well, I am stronger than yesterday. You know, I can do this. I can do hard things. And I prefer it to be very challenging all the time for myself. I understand that if somebody's just starting, well, anything can be challenging, right? So even for someone, it might be a walk. And that's great. I prefer whatever it is to be very challenging for myself because I feel even better after I've done it. It's like I've conquered it.
Well, I'm not trying to push back, but I do want to say something about that.
Yes.
So I think it's amazing.
Yes.
I'm going to say at your time of life.
Yeah.
You're a lot younger than me.
Right.
There gets to be a point when you're older, whether it's running or strength training or whatever it happens to be, where you're not stronger tomorrow than you were yesterday.
Yeah, good
and
point.
What's really important to me is to be okay with that I don't have to be necessarily stronger, but maybe I'm stronger, balanced in life or something. But
yeah, I guess I don't look at it like my muscles. I don't mean literally stronger than yesterday.
Oh, you're not talking about like more weight, faster running.
No, and maybe for some on certain days that might be the case. Maybe one day I might think I'm going to lift more than I did the day before. But mostly for me, it's about how I mentally feel. And I think for most people, I think, okay, I did this yesterday. I can do this today. Back to our conversation about I can do hard things.
I like that. And too, it reminds me of something. And I've talked a little bit about this on the show that you wouldn't have heard. I like the show Marathon Talk, which is a podcast. And I'll just jump right to the point where Martin Yelling has said quite a few times lately that running gives you what you need at different times of your life. And there is a time of your life when you're younger. I didn't run at that time in my life, but I can imagine where going faster every day would really drive you, would be really beneficial. It helps you at that time of your life when you're go, 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 and you're trying to make something of yourself. Now I'm older, right? And it gives me something different. It gives me a way to be part of nature, to get in touch with my physicality, to be able to keep moving, to be able to see that I can keep going and I'm still strong in my way, even though I'm not faster yesterday than I was today.
That's right. And I love hearing that. And I think it's that way for so many people. It's different for everyone. So I love to be able to have a phrase that I have up in my gym, and I have many others as well. Everyone can look at it and think, I'm stronger than yesterday. I did this, or I'm conquering this today, and I conquered that yesterday, or I'm working towards this. It doesn't even have to be something we've completed.
You know what? Now that I think of it too, so I'm not trying to be faster tomorrow. But if I didn't exercise today, or on my exercise day, because I don't do it every day, if I didn't exercise today, I will be weaker tomorrow.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's not, it doesn't have to be like literally, as you said, it's not literally stronger, but you're a stronger person than you would have been had you not been there and done this.
That's right. And you're stronger because you're pushing yourself, through something. And again, most of my clients, I believe most, if not all of them, say they're coming to work out or move their body because it helps their mind. It helps them mentally. It helps them deal with stress. It makes them feel better. It makes them feel confident. Makes them have a better day, whatever it is. Most people don't say, well, it's because I want to lift heavier tomorrow. Right? Nobody actually says that. Back to this whole mental health. I work out because I want to be strong, and I work out because I love it and I love the way it makes me feel. But the way it makes me feel mentally is the most important and what I get the most from it. And when I talk to other people, I hear that all the time. I need it for my mind. I need it for my brain.
Well, we're just about done, and I'll turn to the question I ask every guest, but I have a kind of an odd experience, which is I'm convinced that exercising opens up parts of my mind that aren't otherwise there. So separate from mental health, I feel more human. And when I had the breakthrough that I talk about in my book, Accidentally Well, it was when I was running. So here I had been trying to think of an answer to certain of life's questions. And it was only once I got in touch with my physicality, and it was only when I was moving my body, that I think these little doors in my mind opened up, and I saw more, and I connected more to myself and the world around me, and it helped me answer these questions. And that's where I came up with these concepts of interrelated areas of wellness.
I think that's exactly what happens. I know I come up with some of my best creative work after I've moved or if I'm out, for a run or a walk or anything. My mind is just open. I think that's when I first started working out. I remember feeling very anxious, having a lot of anxiety at that time. I was quite a bit younger. I had worked out before, but it hadn't been a scheduled, consistent thing. And I started working out more, and I added hot yoga in randomly. And I remember when I was at hot yoga thinking, I can't think of anything else at this time but what I'm doing. And it was the best for me because I didn't have all these thoughts, my anxiety that kept creeping in when I wasn't doing this hot yoga or working out. The light bulb went off in me. And then at that point, I started working out even more. Ever since then, it's become a part of my life. And still to this day, if I'm stressed out, I work out.
Okay, let me get to that question that we ask every guest. We ask every guest the same question, recognizing different areas of wellness in our lives. It's a mini wellness check-in. Are you currently neglecting an area of wellness in your life? And if so, can you think of even one activity you could do to foster wellness in that area?
So I always think about, am I covering all my bases? This is something I'm kind of currently working on. I have been working on for a while. So I guess it's not something I'm neglecting. I'm always trying to be more minimalistic with every aspect of my life. That might mean minimal items in my home, minimal things on my calendar. It takes upkeep, actually, is what it does. It takes upkeep, and I'm always trying to keep up with it in all areas of my life, and I like it. It's a challenge for me. So if I think, okay, I'm feeling out of sorts a little bit, and I think, okay, I got to get back to minimalizing a bit more. So my schedule's a little busy. I don't like when I feel that way. I need to cut down a bit on what I'm doing. When things are simple for me is when I feel my best. When there's, keeping things minimal, and then I can be my best at what I'm doing. I find if I toss too many things in there, I can't be 100% at all the aspects that I want to be.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to check in with you on that a little bit. But in the meantime, thanks so much again. I really enjoy chatting with you. I love the way you encourage people to be in touch with their physicality and keep that important part of their life. So thanks for that.
Well, thanks for having me. I always love having a good chat.
I'm Cameron, and welcome to another installment of The Adventures of the Starving Artist. As I'm sure you know by now, I teach a lot of children, music lessons one-on-one for the most part. But not every one of my students is a kid. Au contraire. In fact, the first two students I taught today are both in their late 50s, which is pretty sweet. Both of them picking up guitar as a new instrument for the first time. And it's been really neat. And what I want to tell you about today, it's just a quick little snippet from one of those two lessons. The first student, we'll call him Jim. It's not his name, but we're going to call him Jim. So Jim decided he wanted to learn how to play the guitar, but he decided this after learning he wanted to acquire a lot of guitars. Anyone who plays guitar even a little bit will tell you there's a real phenomenon. Sometimes it's known as a disease. Sometimes it's referred to as GAS or GAS, which is not what you think. It's actually an acronym that stands for Guitar Acquisition Syndrome. Most of the guitarists I know have suffered at some point from even a tiny bit of GAS, myself included. I'm up to 6 right now. Ugh. Anyway, he had a wicked case of gas there, and he got himself not only a significant quantity of guitars, but some really nice pieces of equipment, like really nice. And so I got to his lesson today, and he had been playing on a beautiful Martin acoustic, which is also what I play. And so we'd bonded over that a bit, and, we're comparing the sounds between our two guitars. Anyway, I show up there today. He whips out a Gibson Les Paul, like an OG, worth more than I am kind of guitar, He says, I've had this sitting around. I don't know how to play it. I don't know how to use my amp. Can we just do that today? Absolutely, we can, Jim. So we spent a whole lesson, a whole hour, just going through what all the knobs on the amp do, what the different knobs on the guitar do, playing with the different tones we could get. And then we tried it with a basic blues. And this is what I wanted to tell you. When you show a kid something and they get really excited, they kind of light up, and their eyes light up? When's the last time you felt like that? For me, it's like, honestly, sometimes there's a long time between moments like that. And what really jumped at me this morning was when he started to play the blues on this guitar with the sound he had spent an hour crafting with his own amp and his own guitar, all that stuff. He lit up like a kid, like a Christmas tree, you know? And it was a really cool moment, not only for him, but for me, as a teacher, to see, like, it's not just about learning scales and chords and theory and all the important music stuff. It's about that. It put a little bit of a pep in my step for the rest of today, which it was nice. I needed that. That's pretty much it. Just finding joy in the way that you make a difference in somebody else's day and getting some joy out of that. That's all I've got for you. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Cameron. This is The Starving Artist. Until next time.
We love our listeners and thanks for joining us. Please help spread the word about Let's Be Well Together podcast. Follow us and rate us on Spotify, Apple, Google, or your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Instagram at lets.be.well.together and let your friends know about us.
Move that body like we're meant to do.
So nutrition is obviously part of moving that body. We talk about that a lot. Sheila said something the other day about water, and I thought, hey, let's just talk about that a bit because I thought it was a cool idea. So what happened was Sheila, she loves her water bottle. She has this one that she loves. She left it somewhere.
Right.
So she knew where it was, so she just needed to get by a few days. So she ended up grabbing, I have a tea infuser. So there's a time where I was really into tea and I wanted to carry them with me as like kind of a takeout. And there was one that's really amazing because it has a little steeper built right into this takeout tea thing.
So cool.
So you throw your tea leaves in and you steep it and then you jump in the car and by the time you get somewhere, it tastes great. So Sheila grabbed that and then she said, hey, I grabbed your tea thing because I didn't have my water. And I don't know if you threw cucumber or lemon, but you threw something in it and you go, it's really good with having a little flavor.
I threw a different thing in it every day. Like I put cucumbers in it. I put lemon in it. I put lime in it. I put oranges in it.
Really?
Yeah. Basil or mint. Yeah. Just to give it a little bit of flavor. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It was really interesting. So I was doing it all week, just trying all these different options.
And that little bit of flavor made it taste good.
Made me drink more water, actually.
And that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I do really believe that water is super important to moving that body. I'm not great at it. I've been working really hard, especially in 2023, at drinking more water. I'm doing better. But I just thought anything that encourages people to drink more water is a good thing. So if anyone out there has a takeout tea steeper thing in their house, try it. Add a little bit of flavor and see if it gets you drinking more water.
The one that impressed me the most was the cucumbers.
Well, a lot of people love cucumber water.
I'm really surprised, right? Because cucumbers don't have a lot of flavor. I find them very crunchy and love cucumbers, but I don't find them very flavorful. But when you put them in the water, it was refreshing. It had a freshness about it and just so delicious.
Well, I'll tell you something even weirder. I don't really like cucumbers. For some reason, it's not my favorite vegetable to throw in a salad. I'll have it, but it's never something I'm like, oh, I really want cucumbers.
Just because it has no flavor?
I don't know. Like, I actually don't mind those, fancy English cucumber sandwiches. They must have something else in it. But I don't know. Just generally speaking, it's not on my favorite list. Having said that, love cucumber water. It's because it's got that fresh hint, that hint of taste, and it's fresh.
I feel like I'm being healthy and I'm not really doing anything. I'm just drinking water. You know what I mean?
You're just drinking water.
Yeah. And it's like,
look at me.
I'm so healthy. So that feels good. It's funny. Another, like apples, really good. An apple is really refreshing too if you put a little piece of apple in your water.
Yeah. The challenge there for me is I just know because I was trying to do some baking for a while and I was always trying to get apple flavor in, and it's a really hard thing to infuse into baking. Yeah. But it works okay in water.
It works great in water, just like cucumber, right? And it soaks in.
And with an apple, could you just eat it when you're done? Like if you put in a few pieces of apple, would it still be like...
I've never tried that. Okay. It's pretty soggy.
Is it?
Yeah, because it's in there for a while. So it's pretty soggy, just like the cucumber, pretty soggy, like almost slimy.
Okay, so if people are out there and they're trying to think of different ways to change the flavor of the water, drink more water. This is something you can try.
It's excellent.
There's a thought. Popped up while running.
I've said lots of times that my approach to wellness is to identify categories of wellness that are important to me, figure out activities that foster wellness in that area, and then do check-ins from time to time. And I've also said lots of times that I'm a to-do list person, and I'm the kind of person who likes to write all this stuff down. But I just want to make sure it's clear that you don't actually have to do that. You don't have to write it all down. You don't have to do an actual check-in. You don't have to look at bullet point lists of facet activities like I do. It helps me, but maybe you have a different way of doing things. The important thing is to think about it, at least. So at least think about what your categories of wellness are. At least think about the activities that foster wellness in that area, or even what activities might, because you can brainstorm on that too. You can brainstorm on what activities foster wellness. And then the process, which can be organic, it can happen without writing down anything. You might be more of an experiential person. Sheila, for example, doesn't like to write things down. She approaches things in a different way. So don't get caught up on formalities. Don't get caught up on the process. The more important thing to do is to think about it and try and put some of these thoughts into practice and try and find the method, the process that works best for you. It's me.
Yeah. Just let me say, flip side of the coin.
So we, for some reason, we were just looking at pictures and started laughing about something from Toronto. We lived in Toronto in kind of the mid 90s for a couple of years. And there's lots of amazing things about Toronto. Like Sheila you often talk about like the free activities. I don't remember it as much because I was working. Really hard in those days. That was when I was an articling student in a first year, working who knows how many hours a week.
And I was only working like a little bit. So I was working, but I was working a little bit. And then I had the kids and I have summers off and the kids have summers off. So there was a few things in Toronto that are free. So these activities, I got this calendar in the mail about summer activities, and there was an activity every day that was free.
Really cool ones.
Yeah. So you just had to go and find it and, read things or figure it out. But pools were free. After school community center activities were free. So you could sign your kids up. Now, you do have to wait in line to sign them up, and you have to get in line on the day that it opens or else you won't get in. But it's all free, which I thought was very interesting. And had a great summer doing all these great activities.
Yeah, so lots of amazing things about Toronto. This isn't a diss, but there were some pretty funny things that happened to us with the not so great side of being around sketchy type people.
Yeah, and we were pretty close to downtown in Toronto, like we weren't in the outskirts of Toronto.
Yeah, like I'm not exactly sure we're downtown, but like we were in a busy area. There's lots of downtowns in Toronto.
You're right.
In a way.
Yeah.
So like to me, downtown is where all the offices are.
Right.
But then
so
there's all these little areas, where there's lots of shops.
Yeah.
So one thing, I don't really remember much about it. So refresh my memory. But you were saying, remember that those guys that kept trying to sell you stuff? You'd be walking to the subway and they'd be trying to sell you like computers and stuff. And I used to joke, no, I'm not going to buy it because I'm going to probably be offered the exact same thing 2 weeks from now because they're going to come in my house and get it and sell it back to me.
Exactly. Like they were scoping it. You don't remember that? Because they always were selling you different things all the time. One time it'd be a computer. Next time it'd be a telephone, like a cell phone. Another time it would be a TV, or they're selling you this stuff. And you're like, yeah, like I'm going to pay for this. And then, 2 weeks later, you're going to steal it from me and scoping out the joint, because they were always walking around doing that. And I was like, oh, that's probably true. Well, so John, tell us about that one experience you had with that pro soccer player.
Yeah, the pro soccer player.
Well, that's what he said.
This one's really awkward though too, because I actually look back on it not a good way, because it was too close to home, literally too close to home.
Yep.
We ended up moving to Oakville in part because these kinds of experiences were just making it hard. The kids couldn't go outside by themselves and play.
Yep.
We always had to watch them. So we had a house. It was kind of like on a row house type thing.
Uh-huh.
The parking was in the back.
Right.
So you go down an alley and then there's a little spot. So you have a really small backyard, little space to park, and then there's the alley. So it wasn't unusual for me to take one of the kids out to learn how to ride a bike or to be riding their bike with their training wheels.
Or playing with the baseball.
In the alley.
Yes.
So we're in the alley and usually there wasn't any issue.
No.
And somebody walks up and looked relatively sharp in terms of what he was wearing. And he started telling me the story about, oh my goodness, can you help me? I'm a professional soccer player, but my car just broke down and I only need so much money to get something. And I'm thinking, oh, I mean, it's such bogus. It's so baloney, but this is right in my backyard. Like, this is too close to home.
Right.
So I didn't like that part about it.
Yeah. Did you give him money?
I can't remember. I wouldn't surprise me if I did, just because, he didn't seem terrible. He didn't seem aggressive. And, I just didn't want to be in that scenario.
Right.
But then I also wouldn't be surprised if I didn't, because I don't want to encourage that kind of behavior that close to my house.
Right.
But because he told such an outlandish story, I couldn't imagine him coming back
and telling it again.
and telling it, now I'm something else, right?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. And what about the time, like, I always laugh about this one. Someone stole a diaper bag off of our front porch.
Yeah, you feel like they're scoping you out for sure. Like they can see what's going on, because my sister, I was taking care of her kids, so she was coming to pick them up and she brought dinner. So she had a baby with her. She had a food bag and a diaper bag. So she left all this stuff on the porch. I took the baby, she took the food because we had to get it in the fridge, left the diaper bag there. We literally just went to the kitchen, dropped off. I stayed there. She went back to get the diaper bag, gone.
It's crazy. Like,
less than a minute.
So they're watching you, because this is just, imagine, a few steps in an enclosed porch and a front door in row houses on a busy street.
Yeah.
And they're watching people go into their house and noticing that they left a bag. That must be a purse or whatever. And they steal a diaper bag.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that's what they were thinking. A diaper bag would have the mom's wallet in it, right? They also have, but the problem was this didn't. It had diapers and food, baby food. And you need diapers. Like if you have a baby and you don't have the wipes and, all the supplies. And didn't we just walk around an hour later and there it was in the alley, the bag sitting there.
Good news, people. We recovered the diaper bag and the diapers. And because guess what? People aren't interested in actually stealing diaper bags.
No.
Please remember that we're not providing advice. We hope to inspire you to work towards balance, and we urge you to consult with qualified people if you need advice. The people on the show are speaking in their personal capacities. Their views expressed are their own, and don't represent the views or opinions of their outside contacts, their employers, or anyone else. We try to get things right, but we can't guarantee everything we say is correct, or that the things we talk about will work for you. Let's be well together, and let's be sure to do that in a safe way.
And it's sign-off time. It's Sheila here with Elise and John.
Hello.
Hello.
Happy Easter, everyone.
Happy Easter.
So I just wanted to mention, on the flip side, we were talking about Toronto and some Toronto experiences, and we just remembered that when my sister came to visit us in Toronto with the baby and the baby bag that got stolen, that baby was Sammy.
Yeah, our very own Sammy.
Yeah.
No way.
That many years ago. Yeah, it was baby Sammy, only a few days old. Anyways, moving on, I had a frustrating week at work, but a wonderful weekend. We came up to the condo up here in Collingwood and got it back into working condition. Like it's hard when you're not here for so long and then you come back and you have to rearrange everything and do everything. But it was such a beautiful weekend. Didn't snow, didn't rain, and it was a little muddy, but we had some lovely walks and a great Easter. What about you, Elise?
Well, I've really been enjoying the long weekend. We've had a lovely Easter. We've been able to enjoy some really nice weather, which has been great. And looking forward to this week, I think we might hit double digits in temperatures,
really?
looking at Celsius here. So that's pretty exciting. I'm hoping to bust out my bike. I'm not sure if I'll take it to work yet, but maybe take it out, check the tires, go for a little ride to test it out, and hopefully get back on the road. How about you, John?
And that's because you're so upbeat, such a great weekend. You're getting bike out because your car was giving you trouble yesterday.
It was. Oh, cars are the worst.
You just gloss over that.
I know, she didn't even mention it.
No problem. Let's look on the bright side. Yeah. What's that, Monty Python? Always look on the bright side of life. Okay, so I guess what I'll mention from last week is the Waterloo Region Law Association had a really great night. Two things. One, we celebrate the Coulter Osborne Award, which is given out to a lawyer. I won't get into all the details, but basically it's a really well-respected, well-loved lawyer every year. And it was amazing. And the other thing about that is I became the president of the Law Association. So I am going to have a couple busy years doing all this stuff, podcast, work, president, boop, 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 all that stuff. So I am just enjoying this peaceful Collingwood weekend and trying not to think about all that stuff and trying to chill out.
Is that working for you, John?
Yeah, it is working for me.
Oh, good.
Especially when we went on that really long walk yesterday. Mm-hmm. There's a path that's not far from where we are, probably about maybe a kilometer away from us, but it's hard to access. So Sheila and I keep exploring, can we access it from this little spot or that little spot? But especially at this time of year, it's so wet and rainy.
Yes.
That we keep running into swamps and stuff. And so we can't quite get there, but we will figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I guess that's it for this week. I hope everyone enjoyed the show, and we'll see you again next week.
That is it for today's show. Please try and make wellness a priority.
You deserve it.
If you feel the need to talk to someone or ask for help, please do that.
Accept yourself for the person you are.
So long.
Adieu.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Goodbye.